within our sight. Asphalt heroes in the fight. Peacemakers gaming life so bright. Rev it up, feel the pace. Speed hounds in the race. Feel the thrill, feel the chase. Victory is our holy place. Thrill the place. Thrill the place. Throttle down, no time to waste. In this high octane haste. Feel the thrill, feel the chase. Victory is our holy place. Throttle down, no time to waste. In this high octane haste. Every corner, every taste leads us closer to first place. Throttle down, no time to waste. In this high octane haste. In this high octane haste. Every corner, every taste leads us closer to first place. Under lights the engine scream. This is more than just a dream. Through the asphalt like a beam. Racers' hearts with fervor gleam. In this game we find our might. Push the pedal like the night. With each lap our spirits flight. Racing on with all our might. All our might. Thrill the place. Thrill the place. Thrill the place. Beagles on the track, roaring engines never slack. Racing on, no looking back. On the hunt for victory's knack. Trucks flying through the night. NASCAR dreams within our sight. Asphalt heroes in the fight. Peacemakers gaining light so bright. Rev it up, feel the pace. Speed hounds in the race. Feel the thrill, feel the chase. Victory is our holy place. Throttle down, no time to waste. In this high octane haste. Every corner, every taste leads us closer to first place. Under lights the engine scream. This is more than just a dream. Through the asphalt like a beam. Racers' hearts with fervor gleam. In this game we find our might. Push the pedal like the night. With each lap our spirits flight. Racing on with all our might.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rumble here from the beautiful Nashville Super Speedway for our first race in the final round of the playoffs, as each and every one of our playoff competitors still alive, still in the drive here, looking and trying to go for the championship here this season with the HCK Beagles Truck Series, powered by Morphosis Machine LLC. As another night of racing action is upon us, we'll get ready to rock and roll and get ready to go to green flag racing in just a couple more moments as these drivers get loaded into the sim. They'll be looking for the win here this evening.
Vision. Planning. Possibility. At Morphosis Machine, we turn ideas into engineered reality. Whether you're working with plastics, composites, ferrous or non-ferrous metals, our capabilities and vast partner network ensure no project is too big, too small, or too complex. From concept to completion, your success starts here. Discover how Morphosis can elevate your machining needs today. Precision. Planning. Possibility. At Morphosis Machine, we turn ideas into engineered reality. Whether you're working with plastics, composites, ferrous or non-ferrous metals, our capabilities and vast partner network ensure no project is too big, too small, or too complex. From concept to completion, your success starts here. Discover how Metamorphosis can elevate your machining needs today.
Alrighty, shout out there to our series sponsor, Metamorphosis Machine. As we get ready to set these drivers loose, we get ready to go to battle for what is going to be a 145 lap feature event. 145 laps of racing action out there on the speedway, as tonight will be another night of quality over quantity out there on the speedway. Starting on the pole here in our first championship race of the season, it is that Jags.com number 45 of Chris Gilbert. Gilbert will have his teammate, the number 5 ride of Nicholas Snyder, starting there to his outside, and then down starting in position number 3. It is that 18 ride, the Morphosis machine, number 18 machine. That is Jacob Grube starting there in third. To his outside in the Ridge Powersports KR Gutters, number 77 is Brayden Neming, who will start there in position number 4. And starting back on the inside of row number 3 in the number 1 ride, that is Brad Lane. To his outside in the Tim's Tiny Boat Adventures, number 4 ride, it's Tim Blankenbeckler in the Juke Joint Friends for Pets, number 4 machine. Starting in position number 7 in the number 20 ride, it's Jason LePan. To his outside, the Ridge Powersports 469 of Ryan Peterson, and it's Kyle Van Tassel bringing up the rear of the field as we end all the anticipation with our feature presentation as we are quickly green flag racing here from Nashville Super Speedway. It's Nick Snyder, though, outside lane, looking to try to get that power down through corner 1 and 2 as he'll stay dead even with his teammate, the 45 ride of Chris Gilbert, down the back straightaway and back down in to corner number 1, as this is going to be a race that a lot of these drivers, they're going to have to be worried about their fuel, about their tires, and about where they need to be when it comes time to make these green flag pit stops and trying to minimize any mistakes down not only on the racetrack but down pit side as well. You do not want to get a penalty, you do not want to get a black flag and potentially set yourself too far back where you cannot put yourself back into the battle out on the racetrack. As Janelle in the chat says, let's go, Janelle. Coming in showing the love here in this one is Richard Bradshaw. What's good, Richard? Richard in the chat, man, says, let's fucking go. Let's go, baby, says number 20 LePan, number 18 Grube. Says Richard Bradshaw in the house. In the house he is. Yes, sir, you know it. Yes, he is. As Nick Snyder battling here. Looks like he's going to slide up, take that race lead away from Chris Gilbert. Gilbert, unfortunately, will fall back into position number 2 out there on the racetrack. So for Gilbert, gives up that early race lead as his teammate Nick Snyder able to take it away from him. Now here comes another one of their teammates, that number 1 ride of Brad Lane. Lane right up into position number 3 here, continuing to try to work his way forward, trying to work his way into his teammate's back bumper, as Brandon Neming back there battling still for position number 4 here. He's been trying to make this pass on Jacob Grube for a while, just has not been able to clear him. Grube keeps battling back in that outside lane and able to stay kind of door to door with the 77, and Domingue just heads up and able to slide up in front of him, able to clear him and take over that 4th position on the racetrack. But he continues to hold it down across the line, will stay in that 4th spot, but Groom gonna battle back again down in on corner entry, jumps back up into that 4th spot. But right here, man, looks like he gets a great run at it too. He's always super close. He's always so close to being able to slide up, clear him, jump into that 4th spot. Just has not been able to do so, and that may allow for drivers out in front like Nick Snyder, like Chris Gilbert, Brad Lane, to be able to work their way a little bit farther away from those guys as they continue to battle for 4th and 5th on the racetrack. Unfortunately, this may start to cost them some time, and it could really start to wear out their tires if they're battling hard here, door to door out there on the racetrack, as you see Tim Blankenbeckler right there with them, that 469 of Ryan Peterson there in 7th, and Jason LePan riding our top 8 there on the speedway, and then Kyle Van Tassel, unfortunately, bringing up the rear of the field out there on the racetrack. But out in front, it's teammates sitting 1, 2, and 3 out there on the speedway. these three have been really, really working well together lately. They've been rolling nice, smooth laps, and they've been looking really, really strong. And I know they're going to be looking to try to work one of their horses into the championship here this year. But last season's champion, Jacob Groom, not too far back behind them. I know Groom's going to want to jump up here. He's going to have something to say about trying to win this race and trying to go back-to-back here for the championships here in the HCK Beagles. As Nick Snyder, though, out in front. Snyder has the top spot. Chris Gilbert right there. Trying to hold on to second now. Is Brad Lane going to take it away from him? So Lane maybe push it a little harder here, a little earlier in this race, as he will work his way now up 3 positions and into that second spot on the speedway. So move Brad Lane into position number 2 as Nick Snyder still out in front, though, still holding on to that top spot as the HendrickCars.com number 5 ride. Continue to hold on to the top spot here. Continue to run just good, solid, strong laps out there on the racetrack. But the tire wear already slowly but surely starting to take effect. As that tire wear starts to kind of chew at these guys, and when they start to slip and slide around the racetrack, when they're starting to feel a little bit of that stress here throughout the race, it could start to bring in drivers like Jacob Grube right back to their rear bumper. And you see Grube finally able to clear that 77 of Brandon Deming, and now he's left Deming, and he's reeling back into our top 3 here. He's been running a little bit better lap times than the top 3 here the last few laps. So maybe just being a little bit more patient, maybe taking care of those tires a little bit better here early on in this race. And for Jacob Grube, here he is trying to work himself right into the battle here at the front of the field, trying to poke his nose into this championship hunt at the front, as Nick Snyder, Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert still rolling 1, 2, and 3 out there on the speedway. Grube there in 4th. Brandon Deming back in 5th. Trying to play some catch up here. Trying to reel in that front 4, trying to inch back towards them to put himself right back into the battle out in front, as Tim Blankenbackler there in 6th with Ryan Peterson and Jason LePan rounding out our top 8 there on the racetrack, have broken away from the rest of the field. But out in front, it is Nick Snyder, who's led almost, I'm going to say 9 laps now. I mean, we saw Gilbert out in front for a few laps, but it looks like he's going to continue to fall farther back, as now we see the 18 of Jacob Grube go around here as well. So Grube jumps up into position number 3. And man, the tire wear is just going to be such a key factor in this race. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Gilbert has been saving more and more tires a little bit more aggressively here, even over his teammates out in front, over that 18 ride. Maybe just trying to, be a little bit more patient out there on the racetrack. Let this race come to him and hope that it can work into his favor as these runs continue on, as we should see a lot of long green flag runs here this evening. If anything, we may not even see a caution flag. It could be 145 laps of non-stop green flag racing here from Nashville Super Speedways. Nick Snyder, Brad Lane, 1 and 2 out there on the racetrack. Group played spoiler here, breaking up their team. 1, 2, 3 out there on the speedway. Now you do see Brandon Deming. Here comes Deming. He's poking his nose right into the fun at the front of the field. Deming wants to work the Ridge Powersports KR Gutters number 77 ride up and into position number 4 here. He worked so hard and for so long underneath of that 18 ride for that 4th position. Unfortunately, never got to steal it away from him. Can he get it done here, though? Trying to pass the 45 ride. Again, though, it just seems like he hasn't been able to take the runs that he's looked for, and he hasn't been able to clear the car to his outside throughout this race. We saw Group hang on and stay to the outside of the 77 for so many laps. Right here, he's clear. He needs to move up, and there it is. He finally does it. Finally clears the car, able to make that pass. Jumps back into position number 4 as Chris Gilbert, our pole sitter, will fall back into position number 5 now on the speedway, and quickly he's got Tim Blankenbeckler down to his inside. The 469 of Ryan Peterson, Jason LePan, they're right there ready to pounce as well. As out in front, it is Nicholas Snyder who continues to hold on to the top spot. So Nick Snyder out in front, continuing to lead the way here in this one with Brad Lane back in position number 2, and Jacob Grube in that Metal Morphosis machine number 18 ride rolling there in that 3rd position. Some great racing, some strong battling out there on the speedway, and for each and every one of these amazing truck drivers putting together a great show for us. A lot of great racing and great fun to be had here this evening in Nashville for all these drivers. Man, Nashville is such a unique and such a challenging racetrack, but it is a lot of fun, and we'll see kind of how these drivers are going to have to deal with some of that different mitigation. They're going to have to try to move around a little bit. They're going to have to try to find some different lanes, some different grooves out there on the racetrack, and hope that it can work into their favor, that they can work themselves up here, maybe to the front of the field and maybe in to a winning position late in this race. But it's going to be a nail-biter, I think, here all the way through. I think for each and every one of these drivers, they're going to be, sitting right on the edge of their seat, kind of waiting patiently, trying to make sure they don't make any mistakes and that they can put themselves into a half-decent spot out there on the racetrack here throughout this race. But as of right now, it is just some good, hard racing at the front of the field, because the 5 rider Nick Snyder continues to lead the way, and for all these drivers, they got to know that they got to go here. They cannot wait any longer. They cannot sit back here and allow these drivers to, keep on moving around them out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see, if Chris Gilbert can maybe battle back, maybe work his way back up here towards the front of the field and into a decent position here in just a little bit. We'll see if he can get it done in this one. I'm just not too sure, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard trying to make passes, trying to move yourself around a few of these, amazing drivers like Jacob Grube, like Nick Snyder, Brad Lane right in that picture as well. It is very, very difficult to try to navigate your way back around the likes of those cats. And for right now, Gilbert, he's kind of, fallen in and locked in here to that 6th position, but slowly but surely may be able to try to battle his way back up here, put himself into a good spot. So we'll have to wait and see, because I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun to see. It'll be fun to watch and see if obviously we just saw Brad Lane jump up and take that race lead. So Lane jumps in front of Nicholas Snyder. Snyder falling back into 2nd here, as that tire wear and the tire strategy will be the key to success here this evening for all of these drivers. To put yourself into a good spot, to put yourself into a position to, make some moves, put yourself into a spot that you can try to, move forward, gain some extra spots, and potentially put yourself into a winning spot out there on the speedway. We'll see kind of who's able to make those moves, who's able to put themselves into those spots out there on the racetrack. But for right now, it seems like Brad Lane is hitting it perfectly here, at least through the first 21 laps of racing action. He is sitting pretty out in front at the front of the field, leading the charge, keeping these drivers back there behind him. And now it seems like he's starting to pull away a little bit as Jacob Grube jumps up into 2nd. Now we see that 5 rider Snyder starting to slide back a little bit more. Brandon Mink still in there in 4th, but we do see Chris Gilbert able to work his way back up into that 5th position quickly, working his way back around the 4 ride of Tim Blankenbeckler. So you gotta wonder, was Gilbert just saving a whole lot more aggressively here over that opening 20 laps or so, allowing these other drivers to kind of pull out and away from them and take those positions, and falling back into position number 6, 7 out there on the racetrack, and now trying to navigate his way back through. As you do see Grube and Snyder, they're battling here for position number 2, and that is working out perfectly here for Brad Lane. As Lane out in front, man, this is really into his wheelhouse, man. This is one of those racetracks I think he's had circled for a while. It'll be interesting to see if he can hit the strategy perfectly and put himself in the quick trip number 1 ride up and into victory lane here this evening. It's nice and easy down and out of corner number 4. They will complete lap number 24 out there on the racetrack. And now the next big question is going to be is not only, the tire wear and how it's, affecting your race car, and you're starting to slip and slide around. You're starting to feel some of that stress that you put onto the tires early in this race. Will you potentially start to make some tough decisions on when you want to come down pit road? Do you want to pit a little bit earlier to get those tires, or do you want to pit a little bit later to have better tires in the longer run? Short term, it'll help the short pitters, but in long term, it'll help the drivers that go that extra long distance. And going that longer distance could also open up the door here to maybe make one less pit stop. Maybe work yourself into a fuel window that you can make it out there on the racetrack with only, 1 or 2 green flag pit stops out there on the racetrack. So these drivers, they'll be working the calculator, trying to make sure they hit their numbers perfectly, and if they don't mess up, don't leave themselves a couple laps shy of fuel and in a spot where they may have to make a emergency late race pit stop out there on the speedway, or just being a lot slower and a lot more off the pace, trying to just save that extra couple gallons throughout a run. So we'll have to see who's going to have the obvious best game plan, the best strategy, and it's going to come down to these pit stops. It's going to come down to green flag stops if they're on the racetrack, because for each and every one of these drivers, the penalties, man, they have been a killer for a lot of these drivers all season long. And to get one here in our first championship race of 3, it could really set you back behind the ball. It could really put you into a difficult position where you may not be able to gain back those points that you lose here tonight. And unfortunately, may cost you a championship run. You gotta be picture perfect. You gotta be dang near absolutely perfect to win these championships. We saw Jacob Grube last season in our playoffs. He came out and won all 3 of our playoff races in Route 2, the championship. He came in, first race of 3, able to dominate, win that race, and then he goes and backs up with 2 more dubs to close out the season with 3 wins in a row and claiming that championship. And I think, obviously, for Group, he would love to recreate that and do that again here this season, but it's going to be tough, man. Brad Lane's looking really, really strong. Nick Snyder right there, he's battled his way now back up into the second, so you got to know that these guys are going to be really playing a lot of different strategy, a lot of different game plans, and that may kind of play with a few of these other drivers. Maybe give them a full sense of when they're starting to go, when they're starting to use and abuse their tires, and that may make you pick up your pace, and all of a sudden you just realize that, hey, you know what, they're just, running a different lane or a different line, and it just, unfortunately, isn't burning up their tires, but it's killing your tires out there on the racetrack, and could set you back out there later in these runs. You do see them come down through corner number 3, nice and easy, and at corner number 4, they will complete lap number 30 here this evening. So 30 laps down. Still 115 laps left to go here in this one. Still a lot of laps, still a lot of racing left for each and every one of these drivers. Unfortunately for one of our 9 out there on the racetrack, it is that number 13 machine. Kyle Van Tassel is about to go a lap down. Obviously, Van Tassel struggling a little bit, just trying to keep this thing together, trying to keep it rolling out there on the racetrack. And for that Ridge Powersports, KR Gutters, number 13 right of Van Tassel, he is going to go a lap down, but luckily enough, right now he's the only driver a lap down, so if we were to see a caution flag, he will get the lucky dog and get back onto the lead lap here this evening, but he's going to need to catch a lucky caution out there on the racetrack to get himself right back into the thick of it, right back into the battle here on the racetrack. But for right now, it's still Brad Lane, man. Lane is just looking super strong here this evening, but Snyder trying to reel him back in. It seemed like Snyder was starting to fall off there. It seemed like he was starting to slide back and kind of out of the picture here at the front of the field, and then all of a sudden, man, he just came rocket shipping right back into the battle. Worked himself around that number 18 of Jacob Grube, and now here he is reeling in that one ride of Brad Lane, and this could be a huge uh-oh for the rest of the field, as they know that keeping this 5 right at the front and in contention could set you back a lot out there on the speedway. So just try to make sure you keep yourself, going in the right direction, not running into issues, and just having a good, solid day at the Speedway. But out in front is Brad Lane. He's trying to hold him off here. Lane's trying to keep him back there, trying to keep him back at bay, knowing that he wants to find his way into victory lane. He does not want to see his teammate Nicholas Snyder get it done here in this one. As much as they're teammates and as much as he would love to see Nick Snyder do well at the end of the day, battling not only for what could be the race win, but could be battling for what could be the championship lead. Neither driver wants to give it up. Neither driver's going to back down. They're going to continue to, hit their marks and keep on rolling, one lap at a time, and just hope that they can find themselves way up into victory lane, as we do see a lot of these drivers continuing to trying to find their groove, trying to find their lane out there on the racetrack. Unfortunately for a lot of these drivers, they've been kind of stalled out a little deeper in the fuel, but man, it has been some really solid racing out there. And again, even for our front runners who have now separated themselves by quite a bit, as we do see Jacob Grube. All right, Grube and Jason LePan, our first two lead lap drivers to elect to come down pit road to make this pit stop. So a big stop right here out of those two drivers. That'll be very, very interesting to see kind of who's going to come out on top of this one, because there is going to be a lot of drivers that are, going to play a lot different kind of a strategy here. There's going to be a bunch of them that are going to kind of play this out, kind of, wanting to run a little bit longer, trying to have a little bit better tires later in this race and later in the run than pitting here on lap number 35 for Grube and LePan. But good, clean pit stops. They were able to hit their pit stalls, make them stops, and not earn any black flags or any major penalties that could set them back even more out there on the racetrack. As here comes Grube, here comes LePan back out onto the speedway. So both those drivers roll back out onto the track. Now we'll have to wait and see, when does everybody else start to navigate their way down pit road? Will the short pit stop here for Jacob Grube and Jason LePan with those better tires in the short run, will it work out into their favor and edge them out in front, and having that clean air, that track position, and maybe long enough with those clean laps that they'll just be able to kind of pull away and keep Snyder, Brad Lane, Gilbert, and the rest of the field back there at bay throughout the rest of this evening. But out in front, man, Nick Snyder, man, he's looking strong. He was able to work his way back around Brad Lane, stealing back that top spot, and now leading some more laps here at Nashville Super Speedway. We'll have to wait and see when him and Brad Lane and the rest of their team decide to come down pit side. As Eric says, bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. An insane dodgeball quote right there. I love it. I love it, Eric. Yeah, absolutely. Bold move, Cotton. That is for certain. And, you just never know. It'll be exciting to see how it plays out for him. As here we go. We do see Brandon Deming head down pit road. So Brandon heads down pit side. So does Tim Blankenbeckler in the Ridge Powersports number 469 of Ryan Peterson, also down pit road here. So a couple takers back on lap number 39 going to come down pit road, but we do see the teammates out in front. They are going to stay out here, but let's see. It looks like they're slowing down. Here they come. Lap number 40. Here comes Nick Snyder. Here comes Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert. Now, for all these drivers, just got to have a clean stop here. You cannot make a penalty. You cannot put yourself into a position where you get that black flag and you get held down pit side. You go a lap or two down. You can take yourself not only out of the race win contention, but out of the championship contention here this evening as well. As Snyder, Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert all hit their pit stalls. So far, everyone has been good down pit road. No penalties, no huge issues, but we will see more than likely this 18 rider Jacob Grube work his way back out in front, as we do see Tim Blankenbeckler running into a little bit of issues here. Same with Ryan Peterson. See if we can play this back and take a look and see what happens to these two. I'm not sure if they just make contact, fresh tires, cold tires, trying to get back out onto the racetrack. They end up just making contact right there and 4 ride down through the infield grass, and the 469 Ryan Peterson goes down there as well. Going to help him do some landscaping here on the back straightaway, and luckily enough, both drivers, though, able to keep pointing the right direction. No caution flag. We keep it clean and green. We keep on battling, but that will hurt them out on the speedway. But out in front, it is Jacob Grube, but Grube coming down pit road 5 laps earlier than Nicholas Snyder. Snyder only half a second back off his back bumper, and unfortunately that gap may close in a quick hurry. With 5 lap better tires for the 5 ride, may not be a whole lot that Jacob Grube can do here to keep these guys back there at bay. But having that clean air, having that track position, maybe that will be the key to success here for that number 18 ride. Just getting out in front and never giving it up out there on the speedway. Be interesting to see if they're able to jump up there, maybe make those moves, maybe put themselves into that position. But for right now, it is all Mr. Grube out there on the speedway, man. He is looking absolutely fresh. He's looking A-okay out in front as he's going to look to click off lap number 43 here this evening. But you see the 5-lap fresher tires of Nick Snyder able to work his way right back up to the front of the field here and right back into this battle alongside the 18 of Grube. And I just don't know, man, that 5-lap difference in tires, man. Grube may just be a bit of a sitting duck out there on the racetrack, and unfortunately just has not been able to get too far forward here and put himself into a better spot out there on the racetrack. But now look out, the 5 ride super loose up on the high side. The 18 ride slow as well, and all of a sudden we see Brad Lane jump right out in front. Let's take a look back here. They make a little contact on corner entry, and my gosh, that was too close for both of these drivers' likings. I don't think either one of them wanted or planned on contact, but obviously things getting tight out there on the racetrack. And here we go. We see the 18 diving in there deep and right there. Okay, so he hits the apron. He's trying to drive it underneath the 5 ride, trying to take a good run here to the inside of Snyder. Unfortunately, right here, kind of loses the rear end. The nose hits that infield apron, and it just kind of straightens out the car, shoots him up the racetrack, gets into that left rear quarter panel, and unfortunately there for both drivers, they're going to go for a little bit of a slip and a slide, and all of a sudden here comes Brad Lane with the speed and momentum right down low, able to get by both of them and work his way back out in front of the field. So big mistake right there, big contact, and unfortunately that could create some hurt feelings out there as you do see Snyder now trying to battle back around this number 18 rider. Jacob Grube once again trying to get back after it, trying to put himself right back into the thick of things here at the front of the field. But man, this has been an exciting race, man, for not having, an absurd amount of cars out there on the racetrack. Everyone just kind of doing their thing and being nice and easy, staying breezy out there on the racetrack, man. They have done a fantastic job and just continuing to battle hard out there on the speedway, man. This has been a lot of fun. This has been some great racing, some great action, and man, we can't wait to see how this all plays out, as there's still a lot of laps left to go here. We are just under 100 laps left to go here in this feature event as we completed lap number 47. Means we got 98 laps of racing action here this evening. So still a lot of time, still a lot of laps, being virtually 1/3 of the way through this race. So for each and every one of these drivers, being that 1/3 through, now you want to start making some moves. Now you want to start trying to slice and dice and find your way through the field and up towards the front of the pack here for what could be a beautiful day at the speedway. But well, man, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be tough to do. It's gonna be really tough for these guys to find those runs, to find that kind of extra gear, as everyone's kind of balanced out there. Everyone has just been running super strong the last few weeks, and every position is going to mean the world to these drivers. It is going to be very tough to work yourself into the action and into the magic out there on the speedway, but if anyone's going to be able to do it, man, it's going to be Jacob Grube, Nick Snyder. One of those guys are going to be able to try to navigate their way back out in front and back to the point here this evening. But right now, that Metamorphosis machine. Number 18, Ryan, kind of just lurks in the weeds, back in position. Number 3, hoping and waiting for his time to shine, waiting for his time to try to jump up there, steal this race lead away from these two, and put them back in behind them, and potentially, out of contention here early on in the season. Well, the championship season here for that championship. So we'll have to wait and see what Groob's got up his sleeve, and if he's able to make it count here today, if he's able to get it done here in this one, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough all the way through. No one's going to give him an inch. No one's going to give him really an opportunity to, just jump up there and steal a spot or two and try to work his way back to the point here. He's going to have to battle tooth and nail out there on the speedway to try to work his way back up into the magic here this afternoon. And trust me, that is a whole lot easier said than done. So for Jacob Grube, man, he may have his hands full here this evening trying to figure out a way to beat that 5 of Snyder, the 1 of Brad Lane, as it is going to be a dogfight here for each and every one of them, man, which is going to be absolutely amazing to see. It's going to be absolutely amazing to watch these guys have to battle this hard, have to really duke it, really have to grind their teeth out there on the speedway to try to put themselves into a winning position out there on the racetrack. As of right now, though, Grube back in 3rd, Chris Gilbert, our pole sitter, there in 4th, Jason LePan rounding out our top 5. Good run going here for Mr. LePan as he's rolling there in 5th. And we do see Brandon Domingue back in 6th. Tim Blankenbeckler in 7th. And Ryan Peterson rounding out our top 8 on the racetrack. Kyle Van Tassel scored back in that 9th position, but out in front it is this quick trip number 1 ride of Brad Lane, as Lane just trying to keep him back there at bay, trying to put himself up and into victory lane. And as of right now, man, he's looked really, really strong here this evening. He's led a lot of laps, but so hasn't Snyder. And it could come down to teammates duking it out there on the speedway, trying to find their way into victory lane. As much as they want to see their teammates win these races and go for a championship, they are right in the battle. They want this championship just as bad as they do. So obviously, they're not just going to roll over and give it up, allow them to take it and steal the championship away from them. So it's going to get tight. It's going to get really, really wild. It's going to get really interesting. Obviously, here at, the beautiful Nashville Super Speedway, when we start to look at the schedule and where we're headed to next here for our final 2 races of the season, we go to Homestead, which is another very technical racetrack where tire wear and everything else is going to play a major, major aspect out there on the racetrack into where and what you can do on the speedway and how you're going to be able to try to put yourself into a winning spot there at Homestead. And then we do head to old Atlanta here, not the new Atlanta Motor Speedway, but the old Atlanta Motor Speedway. So, man, that's another racetrack that is very, very technical. It's got its bumps and bruises out there, and it's got some really, really good history to it, but it also makes for some really fun racing because you just never quite know, how the tires are going to hang on, how your car is going to be balanced out there on the racetrack, especially if it kind of converts from, daytime to nighttime out there. It could definitely put a damper on a lot of these drivers' moods out there on the speedway and definitely put them into some difficult positions. So we'll have to see if that'll happen here this evening, or if potentially things will work out for these drivers at the front of the field. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities that these guys could just continue on running right in the exact same positions that they are right now, or we could see them make some moves and work their way and a little bit of magic here into the front of the field. So we'll see if Snyder, if Chris Gilbert, who's back up into 3rd now. Gilbert has worked his way around Jacob Grube, so Grube making that 5-lap earlier pit stop. I think it's hurting him here, man. I think he's going to have to, do a little self-reflecting here during this run and just kind of know that, okay, hey, I got to kind of settle in. I got to sit back. I got to allow myself a little extra time here to, try to make some different changes, make some different moves, trying to put himself into a spot where, it can play out nicely into his favor here this evening. But as of right now, obviously it has not worked out, super well for that 18 ride as he continues to fall farther and farther back here and losing touch to a lot of these drivers in front of him. And as he does lose those positions, as he does slide farther and farther back, it's going to force his hand to maybe come back down pit road right here. We may even see him down pit road this time by the start-finish line, because that 18 ride, this was, kind of, I guess he ran 35 laps, so we'll have to wait and see. I feel like he's probably going to kind of keep on running that 35-lap stint, maybe go a little bit farther here for a couple of these, runs, but I think he's going to kind of stick with that strategy, probably come back down pit road somewhere around lap number 72, maybe lap 73, somewhere in that area, and then he'll be back down pit road again somewhere around, lap 115, 110, somewhere in there, maybe, a little past that, and putting himself into a spot late in this race to try to win this thing and not trying to make too many big moves or big splashes here or show his hand too early out there on the speedway. And for a lot of these drivers, though, as this race continues on, they may need a caution flag to even breathe a little bit of life back into them, whether it's the pit strategy or tire strategy that works into your favor. You start falling back, you look at Group, who now sits 6 seconds behind our race leader, Brad Lane. It is very, very tough to gain 6 seconds out there on the racetrack, to put yourself into a position where you're leapfrogging, gaining all that time back. You either need the drivers in front of you to have a lot of tire issues or really start to fall off the pace, or that you kind of hit your strategy right on point, that you can, put some, good laps in, work your way back up to them, and work your way around them potentially here throughout this feature event. As you do see Kyle Van Tassel, oh, look out, Van Tassel of the racetrack there. Unfortunately for Kyle, he will fall another lap down, but for our race leaders trying to slice and dice their way through some of that lap traffic, got a little bit too close for comfort there for Nicholas Snyder. Luckily enough, he's able to hang on to it, able to keep it rolling and keep himself right there in the battle in that second position. But he is falling back here. He is back about half a second behind Brad Lane. And for Laner, man, he's feeling good today, man. He has been on a roll. He's had a really good truck, and it'll be interesting to see if he's able to try to get it done here in this one. And I think he's going to give it pretty much everything he's got here, man. I know he knows that he may not get any more opportunities here throughout these playoffs to kind of get an upper hand or a little bit better finish than Nicholas Snyder or Jacob Grube out there on the racetrack. So I think he's trying to take advantage of it right now, and he's trying to lay down some quick lap times, hoping that maybe he can start to catch up to more and more of these, struggling race trucks out there on the speedway. May put them into some difficult positions where they may have to come down pit road a little bit earlier than they were planning, or just anything that could potentially take them out of contention here this evening. And if you're playing a team sport, if you're trying to help not only yourself but help your teammates out, especially if there is that late race caution flag, to try to keep at least the three of them, with Brad Lane, Nicholas Snyder, and Chris Gilbert on the lead lap, but everyone else back behind the 8-ball going a lap down, would work well into their favor. And for right now, the Team ASS out in front, you see Lane and Snyder running tight together, 3 seconds back, almost 4 seconds back. You do see Chris Gilbert in that third position, and then after that, everyone else is kind of just dropped off the map. As Brandon Mang, he's about 8 seconds back of our race leaders. You look at Jacob Grube, now about 8.5 seconds back. Jason LePan, he's even farther back there, 9 seconds back of the race leaders. And then Tim Blankenbeckler and Ryan Peterson, unfortunately, both, multiple seconds back here, and both very much at risk of potentially going a lap down after on the racetrack themselves. So they'll have to be watching not only their marks, but they'll have to be watching their rear view mirror and seeing if our race leaders catch up to them and start to try to work their way around them. As a lot of times these guys, especially like Peterson, Tim Blankenbeckler, these guys like to move out of the way and allow them to kind of battle for that race win, allow them to battle for what could be the championship, and just, move up out of the way, roll out of the throttle, allow them to get by you, allow them to take that spot without putting yourself into a difficult position where if you make a mistake and you take out one of the championship competitors, man, you may never hear the end of it. But out in front, Brad Lane continues to lead the charge here. The quick trip #1, still holding about half a second between himself and his teammate Nicholas Snyder. Snyder rolling back there in position #2, feeling A-okay here this evening, as well as he knows that he is still very much within striking distance. If he can just narrow in and tighten up kind of that green flag pit cycle there and give himself even a little bit better of an advantage between himself and that one rider, Brad Lane, could be enough for him to drive away and pick up another win on the season there for Snyder. But I think for Brad Lane, whenever he sees his teammate coming down pit road, he's going to go with them, and it'd be interesting to hear kind of what that team chat is sounding like right now with the 3 of the ASS teammates. They're rolling at the front of the field. They sit 1, 2, and 3 out there on the racetrack. It's very, very hard to want to jump into one of these championship 5 events. Obviously, it's not win and you win the championship. It is a 3-race series here for our championship battle this year. Again, in 4. #1, Ryan, man, he's off the hot start. He knows when to shine, and he's hoping that he can shine bright here this evening at Nashville Super Speedway with all the other stars in the stands cheering him on and watching that #1, Ryan, pull out in front and continue to try to pull away from Snyder, but Snyder sticking right there with him. Let's wait and see if he's got a little something left under the hood here of that #5 truck, as we had just completed lap #71. We're already inching, right at that halfway marker here this evening. So for each and every one of these drivers, we're kind of halfway in, halfway to go, and we're right on the horizon of some more green flag pit stops out there on the speedway. So for Lane and Snyder, first and second, their teammate Chris Gilbert back in position #3, and then we do see Brandon Deming, and then we see Jacob Grube there in 6, and then Jason LePan, Tim Blanken back there, a little farther back there in that 4 truck, and Ryan Peterson there in the 8th position. Peterson rolling there in 8th, and then back in 9th is Kyle Van Tassel. Unfortunately for Van Tassel, he's already been lapped a couple times here, and for that 13 ride, he's just trying to hang on, try to learn a little something here, try to figure this racetrack out, and maybe it'll help him next season if we come back here for one of our championship races or one of our playoff races here, that he may be able to take this extra little bit of knowledge and work into his favor. So for Kyle Van Tassel, that's exactly what he's going to be doing, as we do see him head back down pit road, pitting again quite a bit earlier than everybody else. Now, I'm not sure if this will, help him or hurt him here. I think this could hurt him, as this will put him, another lap down at least out there on the racetrack. So for the 13 ride, pitting this early, it could set himself farther back. An untimely caution flag could really, extraordinarily mess up his day and kill any chances he may have had of getting a couple lucky dogs or something to get back into this race. But he does fall, I do believe, 3 laps down, and will be at risk potentially of going 4 laps down. Is for Brad Lane, though, nice and easy down and out of corner #4, back down across the line. He will complete lap #75. So 75 laps completed, 70 laps left to go here in this A main feature event. 70 more laps left to duke it out here for each and every one of these drivers, and man, it's gonna get hairy. It's gonna get scary. It's gonna get really, really interesting to see who is going to put themselves into that winning position here today, man. It's not gonna be easy. It's going to be tough for certain. It's going to be really, really hard for a lot of these drivers to put themselves right back into that picture frame here this evening to, move forward, to gain spots and gain those positions, trying to win some of these races, and obviously, especially for our playoff races. Now, here we go. We do see Brandon and Ming. We knew these guys were probably going to, kind of play somewhat of that same strategy. It seems like 30 laps right there as far as they ran, as Brandon Ming down pit road, Jacob Grube, Jason LePan, Tim Blankenbeckler all down pit side there on lap number 75. So they short pit there again. The first run they did 35 laps. This run they do 30 laps. And, that quite a bit slower of a lap there, man. That's another really surprising one to me, man. I don't get that one. I don't get it at all, chat. I'm not 100% sure on why they're going to come down that early out there on the speedway. It did not work out too well for them in the first run. I'm not sure how that's going to work out for them here in this run as well. So I'm just not too sure about that call, man. That strategy is definitely going to be one that's going to be very, very tough to kind of battle back from it and to try to battle with out there on the speedway. I just don't see how the early pit stops are going to, gain them much out there on the racetrack, except for potentially, just being able to run a few extra laps. Maybe it pulls him out in front enough that he can have a solid lead, have a good enough gap where maybe there's no draft off his back bumper, the clean air may hold him out in front and keep the rest of these guys back there at bay. But it's not looking likely here this evening. But for right now, Brad Lane continues to lead the charge here, and this time by they will complete lap number 80. Now, we do see Ryan Peterson. He's going to head down pit road here. Now, unfortunately for Peterson, he's going to pit on lap number 79. But for Brad Lane, here they come. Lane's down pit side. The 5 right of Snyder's down there. They just cannot get a black flag. You cannot run into an issue down pit side. But for Lane, Snyder, and Gilbert, they do make their second green flag pit stop of the day. This is another interesting one because they virtually ran 2 40-lap stints. They ran 40 laps to start this race. The second run, they run another 40 laps of racing action. And this is going to really make things interesting because if they're going to roll that strategy, they'll be back down pit road again. I'm going to say on lap 120. When we look back at drivers like Jacob Grube, Jason LePan, yes, they're running out there. They got a little bit fresher tire. Maybe it'll work into their favor here. Maybe it'll put them into a good spot, but I just don't see them even making up the ground that they were already down. As here we go, we see Brad Lane, Snyder, Chris Gilbert, they're able to leave pit road. We'll see where they kind of come back out onto the racetrack in comparison to the 77 of Brandon Ming and Jacob Grube out there on the racetrack. Is that extra 4 laps earlier pit stops for these guys just does not work them out in front, does not work themselves, much closer to our race leaders. They do draw into Chris Gilbert a bit, but unfortunately now Gilbert going to have, 4 or 5 lap better tires out there on the racetrack. Maybe this is going to be enough for him to just kind of keep his foot in the throttle and keep the 77 and 18 ride back there at bay. But out in front, man, Brad Lane continues to lead the way as Triton in the chat says, Gilbert, cheering on Mr. Chris Gilbert here this evening. And yeah, Chris, right now, man, he's looked good. He obviously qualified on that pole position. He's got some speed of that 45 ride. Unfortunately, though, he's chasing down his teammates, Brad Lane and Nicholas Snyder, here for the race win in our first of 3 championship races here on the season. So for Brad Lane and Nicholas Snyder, man, they sit out in front and virtually sit about 5 seconds in front of their teammate Chris Gilbert out there on the racetrack. So Gilbert's looking to try to reel them in, trying to hunt them down, but he's got a lot of ground to make up, man. Almost 5 seconds to make up here to make it a 1, 2, 3 solid battle here at the front of the field for Team ASS out there on the racetrack as Gilbert's back in third. There's that gap. And then you do see the 77 of Brandon Deming, the 18 of Jacob Grube. He's there in that 5th position. Jason LePan back in 6th with Tim Blankenbeckler and Ryan Peterson. They're in position number 8. Now Kyle Van Tassel, that cycled things back around for the 13 ride. Unfortunately, I do believe he is still going to be 2 or 3 laps down out there on the speedway, and still unfortunately leaking time and leaking farther and farther back, where he may end up going another lap down out there on the speedway. And for Ryan Peterson, where does he kind of come out in correspondence with our race leaders, man? They are not too far away from his back bumper, and he may be the next driver to lose a lap out there on the racetrack. Tim Blankenbackler, he's not too, well, he is quite a bit farther ahead here of Brian Peterson. Looks like Peterson had quite a bit of a slower pit stop there, and unfortunately that has kind of held him back here even more out on the racetrack and put him into a tougher spot out there on the speedway. But for Brad Lane, he's looking to hang on to the race lead, but his teammate Snyder looking to take it away from him. So Snyder down low and through 3 and 4 and back down across the line. It is once again Nicholas Snyder who leads the way here, as 86 laps completed out there on the racetrack, 86 laps down, I believe 59 laps left to go here this evening in this amazing feature event. As Snyder, Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert, 1, 2, and 3 out there on the racetrack doing exactly what they knew they needed to do. They are absolutely hitting this strategy perfectly here this evening and trying to keep, Jacob Grube and the rest of our playoff 5 kind of back there at bay and not really within striking distance of our top 3. And so far they've been able to manage that. They've been able to do a really good job at it, as Snyder and Brad Lane, their next non-teammate driver behind them is the number 77 of Brandon Deming. He's about 6.5 seconds back of these top 2 drivers. And then obviously Chris Gilbert a little farther back there as well. He's back at about he's about 4 seconds, 4.4 seconds back behind the race leader here. So he is reeling them in. He is catching them ever so slightly, but you do see Brandon Ming right there as well. Looks like the Ming is trying to hunt down that 45 of Chris Gilbert, but unfortunately he's about 2.2 seconds back of our 3rd place driver here this evening. And you see Jacob Grube right there with him, rounding out our top 5. Jason LePan and that Richard Bradshaw Metamorphosis machine number 20 right there in that 6th position, with Tim Blankenbackler back in 7th. Ryan Peterson there in 8th, and Kyle Van Tassel bringing up the rear of the field as says he's gained half a second now. Half a second. Yeah, he's done some pretty good driving here. Half a second. I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, throughout a 9-lap run or so, he's gotten about, he's about more than a second now. He's right around a second that he's gained. So you got to think over a 9-10 lap run, potentially, over the next 10, 20 laps, kind of before we start to see these guys come back down pit road. Maybe he'll be able to gain enough to, be right there with his teammates. But at what cost, and where and if do we see potentially these tires start to kind of balance out a little bit more, as we know that Snyder and Brad Lane, they're not pushing super hard here. The tire wear would just chew them up out there on the racetrack, so they're running smart, but they're running tight together, 1 and 2 out there on the racetrack, and that could allow their teammate Gilbert to really just keep on closing that gap, keep on closing into them, reel into their back bumper, and trying to make it a 3-truck breakaway here from the rest of the field here for our first championship race of the season. As man, this has been an incredible season. So many great races, so many great, events, and watching a lot of, amazing drivers find victory lane here in this season of the HCK Beagles Truck Series. And, it's sad to see that it's coming to a close here. Only a couple races left to go on the season. This is our 3rd to final race here of the year. Next Tuesday night will be our penultimate race, and then 2 weeks away will be championship night here for the HCK Beagles. And man, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, after this race, after next Tuesday's race, who's gonna go into our championship finale here at Old Atlanta Motor Speedway, and be kind of sitting in that catbird seat with maybe a little bit of a points gap, enough that maybe it takes a little bit of the stress off of their mind and puts them a little bit more at ease. And do we see somebody there maybe in that 3rd race go out and dominate, put themselves into position to win as many points as possible, and potentially try and put themselves enough points ahead that they can try to steal that championship away from somebody else here this season. And it'll be interesting because I think any one of these guys, man, when you look at Snyder, you look at Lane or Chris Gilbert, Brandon Deming, Jacob Grube, I think any one of them, I think on any given night, I mean, given the right circumstances, is going to find victory lane and dang near any NASCAR Truck Series series out there or broadcast. I mean, these guys are just the best of the best, and they have just proved it week after week after week. I don't know how many races we've ran where we've been caution free, not having a single issue out there on the racetrack, and just great hard racing action for hundreds and hundreds of laps out there on the racetrack. And so far here tonight, it's looking like we're leading into that again here, as we have been 95 laps of non-stop green flag racing. As 95 laps down, it's only 50 laps left to go here in this one. So with 50 laps left to go here in this main feature event for the HCK Beagles Truck Series, we will jump into our Peacemaker gaming. Crank it up. So crank up that volume and cheer on your favorite drivers as we crank it up here on Peacemaker Gaming. a beautiful crank it up session as these drivers give us the sights and sounds around Nashville Super Speedway. Is out in front, continuing to lead the way. It is the number 5 ride of Nick Snyder. Snyder out in front. He's got the top spot, and we're starting to inch towards potentially our final green flag pit stops here this evening. Is nice and easy back down across the line for Nicholas Snyder. He will complete lap number 112 out there on the speedway, and he's starting to open up a bit of a gap here, about 1.2 seconds between himself and Brad Lane. So he's pulling away from his teammate as Lane now quite a ways off his back bumper, and even farther back you do see Chris Gilbert had started to draw into these guys. He was chewing in some of that gap. Unfortunately, may have used up a little bit too much of that tire a little bit too early in the run, and for the 45 run, starting to give a lot of that time back here, especially to Nicholas Snyder. He's still about that 4 seconds back of Brad Lane, but has not been able to draw much closer into Lane or Snyder, and now Snyder just starting to pull away from both of them here, looking like it is going to be another Nick Snyder dub out there on the speedway, unless if Brad Lane or Chris Gilbert can pull some sort of a, magical hat out of, or a magical rabbit out of their hat here this afternoon, and put themselves into a better position with some of these green flag pit stops late in this race, as we do see Kyle Van Tassel working his way down pit road. So Van Tassel's down pit side, unfortunately for that 13 machine. He's already quite a few laps down out there on the racetrack, and unfortunately this is just gonna make things it's gonna be a long day for him, man. It'll be tougher to see him trying to battle back into it, as we do see Tim Blankenbeckler now headed down pit road here as well on lap 114. So for a lot of these drivers making this pit stop here, this is with about only 30 laps left to go in the race. So I think for a lot of these guys, this is kind of the number that they were going for. We could see Jacob Grube and Jason LePan, Brandon Ming all coming down pit road here very soon. And now here we go. We do see Grube, we do see Deming and LePan all head down pit road. We kind of knew that was coming, as they're kind of on that little bit earlier of a pit stop. Now, when do we see potentially this number 5 Brandon Snyder, Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert? When do they come down pit road, and do they pull a little bit of a different strategy, a little bit of a different wild card that they can play here, because they're gonna have to make up ground here, especially now that Brad Lane has fallen 2 seconds back of his teammates' back bumper. So for Snyder, he's got a 2-second lead now between himself and that one truck out there on the speedway. Chris Gilbert sits back in position number 3. Unfortunately, about 6.3 seconds back, and then it's going to be tough to overcome out there on the racetrack. As Triton says, if you don't already do announcing at local tracks, you should. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. It's always been kind of on my bucket list. I've never done it before. I'm sure if I put the effort into it, if I reached out and found some places, I'm sure I could probably get in and do some broadcasting on Saturday nights or Friday nights or one of the racetracks around me. Unfortunately, it's just, that comes with a lot of traveling. It's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of time off, and it's time that I take away from being up here in the booth with you guys here. For our, we got Saturday night leagues, Sunday leagues, Friday night leagues, man. We're always up here in the booth, and it gets hard, man. I'd have to really, plan around that, or I'd have to, unfortunately, drop a couple different leagues to be able to go and do that, which someday maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll make that leap and go and do that. So we'll have to wait and see. It says, you've got that announcer voice legit. I've heard a lot of other local tracks. Hey, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that, mister. As we do see Brad Lane and Chris Gilbert both come down pit road here at least a lap sooner than Nicholas Snyder. So making a little bit earlier of a pit stop. Does Snyder kind of follow suit, pit here with him as well? Or do we see him kind of go for another couple laps here? No, he is down pit side here, and he's coming in with a big hit of steam. Just cannot make a pit road speeding penalty here. Oh, baby, he was able to get checked up there before that first speed line out there on the racetrack. That was a great break there for me. As you do see Brad Lane done his pit stop. He is rolling back out of pit road. Chris Gilbert now done his stop. He's rolling out as well. Unfortunately, though, he is still quite a ways off the back bumper of his teammate Brad Lane. And now the big question is, did either of these two make a big swing at things? Did they make a different strategy call compared to Nicholas Snyder, whether it's that, one lap sooner pit stop, or maybe it's 2 tires instead of 4 tires? Is it something that they could use to put themselves maybe right back into the battle here for the race win here this evening, or they have just kind of settled in and kind of made their bet here this afternoon, knowing that Nicholas Snyder is going to be the truck to beat, and they just need their teammate to maybe make a mistake, maybe slip up to open up the door for them, as we do see Snyder able to complete that pit stop, roll back out onto the racetrack here. Now, he did give up a little bit of time, not a lot, but it is about half a second that he gave up there to Brad Lane. But for Brad Lane, that is still 1.5 seconds back off his teammate's back bumper. That is still a massive gap. That is still a lot of time, and obviously a lot of track position that he's going to be looking to try to regain out there on the speedway. Chris Gilbert, again, about 3.8 seconds back of Brad Lane, 5 seconds back of Nicholas Snyder. Last time around, he laid down not only his quickest lap of this race, but the quickest lap of this race. He's the only driver so far out there on the speedway to break the 31-second bracket. Just ran a 30.96. So he's the only one to dip below 31 seconds of a lap time out there on the racetrack, and just showing that he's got the speed in this 45 truck, just not the track position that he would like or that he needs late in this race to try and jump up and try to win this race. As right now, that accolade goes to this 5 rider Nicholas Snyder, as he's got 1.5 seconds between himself and Brad Lane. As earlier on, you did ask, what makes this track easier or harder than some of the others, and any specifics on outside or inside is better. It's really down to where the grip is out there on the racetrack. And one of the things that makes this track tougher than some of the other ones, especially when you see the asphalt surface, asphalt really tends to have a lot of grip in it. It doesn't really chew up tires as much as the concrete. This is a concrete surface, so that chews up tires a whole lot more and a whole lot sooner than the asphalt does. So when you're out there and you're slipping and sliding, the tires are starting to fade away. You gotta find that extra little bit of grip, and you can see where that grip line is out there on the racetrack. It's on that inside lane. You kind of enter a little bit more towards the middle. Right there, you see the 5 ride. He's right in it. He's going to stay kind of right inside of that marker there and stay in that grip level, keeping that right side tires in it. So that way the truck is not going to try to travel up the racetrack or wash up or get loose. It's going to have that nice right side set in. It's going to be sitting pretty, and then taking the shortest way around the racetrack is always the quickest way. So having that grip, having that race line, and hitting his marks perfectly has Nicholas Snyder out in front. But we do start to see Brad Lane reeling him in a little bit here. Lane's running just a little bit higher here, especially on corner entry. He is starting to chew away at that gap. It's now only about 1 second between Nicholas Snyder and Brad Lane out there on the racetrack. So for Brad Lane, can he catch him? It's one thing to catch the 5 rider Nicholas Snyder. It's a whole different thing to find your way around him. That's where things will get very, very hard for this quick trip number 1 ride, is it being able to navigate and find that extra speed to make a pass and work yourself back in front of this 5 machine, because we've seen it time and time again here throughout this season, and we're going to see a lot in the future. Snyder is just very, very good at managing these races, managing these tires. Obviously, he's got 1 lap better tire than Brad Lane and Chris Gilbert, and with that little bit extra tire, right now, he should be not losing really any time to this 1 ride. But I think for Brad Lane, he's pushing a whole lot harder. I think for Snyder, he's kind of just sitting back, saving a little bit of tire here, allowing his teammate in the 1 to kind of reel back into him him slowly but surely catch up to his back bumper. And I think once Brad Lane gets there, Snyder may allow him to try to make some moves, try to make some passes here, try to jump up and get around him, which is going to just in turn burn up and chew up his tires that much more. And then I think probably here with about 10 laps left to go, you're just going to see Snyder click that switch, and he is just going to be absolutely gone again and pulling away from the rest of the field and potentially in the victory lane. But a late race caution flag could mix all this race up, as so far 129 laps of non-stop green flag racing. It has been clean and green battling here on the speedway. And for Nicholas Snyder, he's been leading the charge. He's been out in front for a lot of these laps, but so have been his teammates, man. Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert, they've been right there. They've looked really strong throughout this race, but it's going to come down, I think, to these two right here. Brad Lane, Snyder, it's going to come down to who can get it done late in this race, who will have that little bit better tire. And I think you're going to have to give the advantage to that five right of Nicholas Snyder, as I think now he's just going to be kind of playing with the one machine. He'll give up a quarter of a second, then he'll gain a quarter of a second. He'll give up a quarter of a second and then gain a quarter of a second. And all he's doing is trying to manage this gap, having that 3-4 truck lengths between himself and the one ride, knowing that Brad Lane's still pushing harder, trying to find his way up to the front of the field here and trying to find his way back to the rear bumper of this five ride. Snyder's just going to kind of play with him here a little bit, and I'm sure before long we're going to see this five just put the hammer down, pull away, and continue to pull away from the one machine here late in this race. Is Anna, what's good, Anna? Mrs. Alessandro in the chat says, what's up, my peeps? What's up? Anna says, hello, Peacemaker. Hello, Anna. How are you, my girl? How you doing this evening? Hopefully you're having yourself a wonderful Tuesday night, as here in the HCK Beagles Truck Series, powered by Metal Morphosis Machine LLC. It's coming to a close here, not only in this race, but this season. Coming to a close here in a quick hurry. Only 2 races left to go here after tonight. Only 2 more weeks of the HCK Beagles here this season. And for Nicholas Snyder, Brad Lane, Chris Gilbert, they say 1, 2, and 3. They're looking all to try to win this championship, but so is in Brandon Deming, who's back in position number 4, and Jacob Grube, who's back in that 5th spot on the speedway as well. Now, he does have his teammate Jason LePan right there behind him. LePan, can he work his way up inside the top 5, and will he want to work his way into the top 5? I know for him it's still pride, it's still a top 5 run, but he knows that his teammate Jacob Grube is battling for this championship. That 1 point difference, you know, making the move around the 18 could cost your teammate potentially the championship here in a couple weeks time. So maybe staying a little bit more confident behind him, maybe just trying to, you know, help him out and maybe not steal that extra point away from the 5 ride could be the difference maker here for Jacob Grube in 2 weeks time. Maybe that's, you know, the championship, the difference maker here. We've seen that one single point be a difference maker, you know, throughout this playoffs already and through a lot of the other playoff series. One single point could make or break your season. So we'll have to wait and see if the teammates play nice back there for that 5th position, if Grube will hang on to it, or if LePan will finally decide to jump up and take it away. But talking about teammates, out in front, it is Snyder who continues to lead the way, and he is once again pulling away from that one right of Brad Lane. With only 10 laps left to go here, 9 this time by the start-finish line for Nicholas Snyder. He's back out to about a 1.1 second gap here between himself and Brad Lane. So unfortunately for Lane, he's seeing this 5 ride pull away from him, knowing that the first championship race of 3 may be claimed here by his teammate, and he's just going to be a sitting duck back here in that 2nd position, just having to take his lickings, have to take his lashings, and know that, hey, I'm still going to be playing catch up. I'm going to be looking to try to one up him when we go back to the racetrack at Homestead Miami Speedway next Tuesday night to try to not only gain back what you may lose in points here tonight, but also gain a little bit more and try to take over and take control of the point standings. But for right now, Nick Snyder looking really, really strong. He talked about it here, throughout the season that he wants to be able to jump out here, run, and compete like we saw, Jacob Group do last year. But, man, he's in a tough spot right here because they're 3 wide in front of him. Lap traffic here is unfortunately, that had us check him up just a little bit. We'll have to wait and see if that will allow Brad Lane to close the gap on him, reel him in a little bit as Snyder does put Ryan Peterson and Tim Blankenbeckler, unfortunately, both the lap down out there on the racetrack. Kyle Van Tassel falls 4 laps down out there on the speedway, but for Ryan Peterson and Tim Blankenbeckler, man, they made it 138 laps before going a lap down out there on the speedway. But for Snyder, able to make his way around them, able to finally put them a lap down and across the line. Only 6 laps left to go here in this one. So 6 more laps left for Nicholas Snyder, and he still has about 1.4 seconds between himself and Brad Lane, and now obviously 3 lap down drivers in between them as well. So for Brad Lane, he's got to try to figure out a way to get through this traffic without causing an issue and potentially a caution flag that could bring the likes of, Chris Gilbert, Brandon Deming, Jacob Grube, LePan, all these guys right back into their battle and into their action as Trunk says, is this IMSA? What is IMSA? That is the big question. I don't know what that abbreviation stands for. You're going to have to break that one down for us. As Nicholas Snyder, though, out in front. Snyder looking strong. And obviously looking just, hit his marks here. Only 5 laps left to go. It'll be 4 this time by the start-finish line. So with 4 laps left to go here in this race, he's got 1.4 seconds between himself and Brad Lane. I think for this HendrickCars.com, number 5, Ryan, he is on cruise control out there on the speedway, knowing that he could get that upper hand, that extra little bit of a bonus here and that momentum going into our final 2 races of this season, and obviously in a hunt for that championship, man, giving him that leg up early on is going to be a huge benefit into his chances and his hopes. We were talking about him, he talked about early in the season he wanted to kind of have a run and be a little bit more competitive. We saw him last season in this Championship 5. Obviously, we saw Grube go out there and win all 3 of those races. He ended up jumping out there, ended up winning all 3 of our Championship 3 races last season. For Snyder, he was in line. He was right there with them in contention for a couple of those wins, but made simple mistakes out there on the racetrack. Pit road speeding penalties, or losing a lot of track position, or playing other different strategies that just did not work out into his favor. He talked all season long about cleaning it up, making up those mistakes, and not having those mistakes, especially when it matters most here in this championship round. And here tonight, man, he's proved that he's learned from his mistakes, and he is sitting perfectly here out in front and continue to pull away from Brad Lane, and that's nice and easy down through corner number 3 and out of corner number 4. Nicholas Snyder will see the white flag fly here this evening from Nashville Super Speedway. So Snyder gets the white flag, and our final lap of the evening is upon us for the HendrickCars.com, number 5, Ryan of Snyder will lead us down the back straightaway for the final time here this evening. Nice and easy down into corner number 3 and out of corner number 4 on cruise control with over 2 seconds between himself and his teammates back behind him. It's Nicholas Snyder who picks up the checkered flag and will win our first championship race of the season. So race number 1 of 3 completed here today. And for Nicholas Snyder, man, this has put him into a golden opportunity to try to go out there, perform well, put himself into these same situations the next 2 weeks and try to win his championship here this year as the 5 ride. He's pumped, he's ecstatic. He knew how big this one was, and being able to set the tone here for this championship series. Definitely exactly how he wanted it, and he gets to cap it off. I mean, as much as he wanted his teammates to go out there and win this race or win the championship, obviously it's going to be a dogfight between the three of them as Brad Lane and Chris Gilbert round out the Team ASS podium here this evening. 1, 2, 3 finish for their team this afternoon, man. Great showing, great performance by all three of them. Great show by all these drivers. 145 laps of non-stop green flag racing here at Nashville Super Speedway as we'll get ready to pull Nick Snyder and the rest of our top 3 up and into the broadcast booth here this evening as each and every one of them ready to slide in here, ready to give us their words and talk about, what's gone down, what's happened out there on the racetrack, and how this is going to work into their favor here for these playoffs as we'll pull Mr. Snyder right up here into the booth. Hey, Nick, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Yes, sir.
Nick, man, what a run, what a race here tonight, man. Take us back through this one. It's obviously not a lot of cars, a lot of open racetrack, but you had your hands full with your teammates here this evening as Chris Gilbert, Brad Lane, man, putting up a heck of a fight with you here all night long. And even right there at the end, obviously a little bit better tire, a little bit better strategy there, and it plays into your favor late in these runs as you pull away from Brad Lane. It gives you that extra advantage out there for that final pit stop, and then you kind of do exactly what we've seen here throughout the season. Just saving a little bit more tire, allowing that driver in second place to kind of reel back up to your rear bumper, burning up a little bit more of their equipment, trying to chase you down, thinking that they got a little bit of life, a little bit of fight left in them for this race win, and then as soon as they kind of get there, you just start to pull back away from them, and then you're just on cruise control here over those closing, 15, 20 laps, and you drive this 5 ride into victory lane, man, in a race that, I feel for yourself, it is a huge relief and a huge, benefit. And we saw you last playoffs, last season, come into these races, these championship 3 races, and have a slew of mistakes and issues that cost you that championship. But here tonight, man, and throughout the season, you talked about them and how you needed to clean those up if you wanted to have a shot at the championship. Well, here tonight, man, you proved that you may have learned from your mistakes as you're pretty much mistake-free, and you drive that 5 ride up and in to the Nashville Super Speedway victory lane, brother. Take us back through it and what's going through your mind.
First off, hats off to, everyone, Brad, Chris. We are pretty much equal. Brad was better than me that second run. I think Brad had a little help with Jacob when he got into the corner panel with me, and it just probably overcooked the right rear there. And just I could never get it cooled back down unless if I let Brad pull away. But yeah, those mistakes that I made last year were kind of a fire setting stone for me. I let Jacob, have it last year, and this year I'm not gonna make the same mistakes that I did last year in those final 3 races.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you kind of set the stage for that all season long with the amount of wins and great performances we saw out of this 5 truck. And then here you are just coming in here to Nashville, man, to set the stage, to set the tone here to our championship round. Man, off to a fire start. Obviously, you bring your teammates right there with you as Brad Lane and Chris Gilbert come home second and third. So it seems like any of the practice and everything else that you guys gotten in this week, it seemed like you guys found a little something extra, found that extra bit of drive, and also found that the strategy you guys were on was going to work out best, and it did because it virtually left Brandon Ming, Jacob Grube, LePan, the rest of these guys kind of all playing catch up here for most of this race.
Yeah, I knew tires were going to be a huge, strategy here. And when Jacob pitted, I was like, oh, he's going for the stage win and stuff. And I was like, I'm going for, race wins. And, um, Brad and Chris, stuck with it. They were like, "Yeah, we're gonna be in the same vote." But far as practice goes, I never put a lap here. Um, the past week or whatever, I've been busy. This is probably my worst track out of the three that we're going to. Typically, I'm not good here. I burn off the right rear quick here, so I came in with a little bit of a different mindset this race. So, but no, I'm happy for our team to get 1, 2, 3, and I think we're sitting 1, 2, 3 in the standings now since they all reset.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be sitting 1, 2, 3 there for those standings, and obviously, going into our final two races of the season, I think that's the last thing that any of these other competitors want to hear tonight is that this is your worst of those three tracks, and you go out there and put on performance like you did and picking up the checkered flag. I mean, they got to be, a little bit nervous, and they're gonna have to try to step up their game to get that one up on you here and try to knock you out of that top spot for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous next week, but Brad's super super good there. The Hey, he'll probably win it next week if he doesn't have any mishaps. And Chris is right there with us. Every time that we race Homestead together, it's always, well, we have a fourth, but he doesn't race with us, but Jordan. But normally it's four of us that battle out the win there, and sometimes Brad always ends up on top of on that one. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the next two, especially the last one. Old Atlanta's my stepping stone just because of tire wear and how loose the truck gets.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing in some of that dirt track experience and that sprint car racing into favor there for you. Having that extra little experience with the slipping and sliding and the tires fading out there on the racetrack. And here tonight, we see a little bit of that. Obviously, back onto the concrete ash, racing surface. A lot of that same kind of tire wear and everything else kind of came into play here tonight. And you're able to handle the truck the best and put yourself right up here into victory lane, giving yourself the edge here in the championship into these final two races. But Nick, man, great run, great drive, heck of a performance out there on the racetrack, man. Who would you like to thank here for another great performance out there on the speedway?
I'd just like to thank you and all the admins of the HCK, for putting up with us week in and week out, and Flocon, Billy, just everyone that's part of my real life career and stuff. So if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would be pushing as hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, huge shout out to them because not only pushing hard for the real life sprint car racing, but also here pushing hard here on iRacing as well. Nick, congrats on the dub here in this one, man. We look forward to seeing you back out there for the next couple of races and seeing if you can try to chase down this championship.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner, Mr. Nick Snyder. Snyder gets it done and pulls himself up and into victory lane, man. Great run, great drive. Heck of a performance there for that number 5 machine as we'll get running out to pull in our second place finisher, his teammate, the one ride of Mr. Brad Lane. Hey, Brad, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
Hey, Aaron, I got you.
Brad, man, great run, great drive for you here this evening. We thought for a little while you were going to give Snyder a run for his money here tonight as you two were just nose and tail here for so many laps. And then all of a sudden, just late in that, middle run, he just pulled away from you, just started to chew away and open up a bit of a lead before that final pit stop. And even then, I mean, he kind of played there with you a little bit, allowed you to kind of reel back into him as he was saving a little extra tire, and at the same time had that one lap extra tire as well. And unfortunately, just able to pull back away from you late in this race and drive home into a big win here in our first playoff race of the season. But man, you were right there with him, giving him everything you got, and you're so close to maybe being able to steal this win away and giving yourself the one up here in the championship battle.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Nick's going to be fast going into these races, no matter where we're going. So, yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to be the guy to beat him and Groob. I know Chris was going to be fast here, but I think the first run I think he was running a higher line, which kind of messed him up and kind of set him back a little bit. And I think that's what happened to Groob too. But yeah, it was. I mean, when I got out in front of Nick and led a bunch of laps, I knew that he was just kind of sitting back, saving his tires, and he was just kind of playing with me a little bit. But I think towards the end of the second run, I kind of gapped him a little bit. And I think that was because he was behind me and just getting my dirty air. But yeah, I mean, right there at the end, I knew he was kind of backing up towards me to save, some tires just in case we got a late race caution. But overall, good run. I stole a stage. I should have finished third and got some really good points off of that. So I'm looking at the points now, and even with Nick winning, we're tied. So overall, good run.
Yeah, good run, good day at the Speedway. Obviously, getting that stage win and still coming home here in second, keeping a lot of these other fast cats back there behind you on the racetrack, and setting yourself up here, that even going into a track that, Snyder says he really likes, but he says that you're really good at as well, and it seems like whenever you guys go there, you get the upper hand on him. You end up in victory lane, and he doesn't get the dumps there at Homestead like you do. So maybe you get that extra little chip on your shoulder going into race number two.
Yeah, I've been historically good at Homestead, trucks and the used to call Xfinity, but now the O'Reilly's car. But yeah, I mean it's different when you're. I mean the iRacing is changing every year with the dirty air and the tire model, so it just I haven't really raced there in a while, but historically I have been good, so that does give me a I guess a little positivity going into next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And a heck of a run and a heck of a show like it did here tonight, man. Brings that extra momentum in there as well. So it could be all Brad Lane next Tuesday night here with the HCK Beagles. But here tonight, man, still a heck of a show and a heck of a run for you as they park that one right up here on the podium in position number two. Who would you like to thank for another great run and great drive out there on the Speedway?
Yeah, thanks for you broadcasting, and just thanks for the guys that showed up. I mean, I think the league is ending and closing for good here in 2 weeks. So that's the reason why we don't have a big turnout. But the guys that aren't racing for the final five, in the final or for the championship, I'm just thankful for them coming out and everybody that's still watching at home.
Absolutely, brother. Couldn't have said it any better myself as we get ready to see you guys duke it out here for the final two races of the season and of the HCK Beagles. So, as sad as it is to see it go, man, it's been a long season, a lot of great racing. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what you guys got in store for us here to close out the HCK Beagles Racing League. Brad, congrats on the second place run here in this one, man. And we'll see you back out there at Homestead next Tuesday.
Thank you, Aaron. Have a good night.
You too. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our second place finisher, Mr. Brad Lane. As Lane comes home here in position number two. Solid run, solid drive there for that one ride. And you heard it from him looking at the point standings. Being able to steal that stage win from Nicholas Snyder, puts him virtually tied in points with that 5 ride going in to our penultimate race of the season. So that really sets him up nicely as we'll get ready now to pull in our third place finisher here this evening, that number 45 of Chris Gilbert. Gilbert with a good run, solid run here. Let's get him up into the booth. Hey Chris, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
Yep, I got a copy.
Chris, man, solid run, solid drive for you here this evening, man. Obviously, a very fast 45 truck as we saw you not only lay down the quick time here, in qualifying, but you laid down some really fast laps early in this race, able to lead some laps, keep Snyder back there at bay. He works his way in front of you, you work your way back to the point, and it looked like it was going to be a dogfight between you guys throughout that first run, and then all of a sudden it just seemed like the truck started to fade back. I don't know if that was by design or if maybe you pushed a little too hard early on, but that kind of just set the tone for you for the rest of this race as you kind of fell back into that, sixth position, fifth position there for a while, and then you just kind of had that struggle of trying to, regain that 2 or 3 seconds on Nick and Brad here throughout this entire race.
Yeah, so me and Nick were battling. It was neck code, but he got me in the right rear just a small amounts. What felt like my truck kind of upset me, let him get below me. But then after that, I made a few mistakes as driver, kind of burned the right front off, got a little bit hot and fell back. And that first run, falling back that far, it just killed me. I was the quickest guy through the pretty much that whole middle run of the race, but I just couldn't gain it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to inch your way back there, trying to gain all that track position without any caution flags or anything other than a little bit of pit strategy. But we saw kind of how that pit strategy worked out for the drivers back behind you when we looked at Domingue, Grube, Lepan, a lot of these guys trying to make a little bit earlier pit stops than you guys, trying to flip those a little bit, and it didn't really gain them anything. Maybe half a second here, half a second there on those pit stops, but not enough to, leapfrog them ahead and give themselves an advantage or something that they could work with throughout this race. And unfortunately, throughout those pit stops, we just saw how much farther that kind of hurt them in the longer run because the main just kept falling back, same with Grube and Lepan, and they just had nothing for you guys. The three ASS Motorsports rides just pulled away and duked it out amongst the three of you.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went. Like they kept trying to short pit us. I understood what they're doing. They're trying to jump in front of us, but it just never worked out. I mean, Nick's so good on pit road. We're all pretty damn good on pit road, but it's yeah. I kind of yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen you guys all season long be fast down pit side, and unfortunately sometimes being a little bit too quick down pit road. But here tonight, no pit road mistakes, no blunders that affected your ride or Brad or Nick here that took you guys out of contention for rounding up this podium. And obviously, is as much as it stings to come home in third, especially here in the championship round, I'm sure you're happy that it's Snyder and Lane there in front of you.
Yeah, it's always nice having our teammates win. Sorry, I kind of stumbled there on the interview, but it's yeah, it's always great when we come in 1, 2, 3. We're always happy about that. They're like Snyder's figured some out. Brad has helped me out a lot with my racing, and yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've seen year after year, season after season, and race after race continue to just get better and better and better. And now with 2 races left to go, obviously you got to play a little bit of catch up here, trying to make up a few extra points. To try to leapfrog and steal the championship away from Snyder and Lane here, man. What's up your sleeve? What do you got in store for us here at Homestead and Old Atlanta to try to get it done and try to take advantage and win this championship?
It's gonna take discipline. Gonna have to be smart. You have to be to beat those guys. You have to be fast, but you gotta keep tires underneath you. So discipline is gonna be the big thing, and just try to keep track position. Don't let what happened the first run happen again, and go from there. And hopefully it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to see the amazing racing that you guys have in store for us there in our final 2 races of the series. But here tonight, Chris, another great run, another solid performance here on the season for you, man. Who would you like to thank for another great drive out there on the Speedway?
Well, obviously you gotta thank my teammates, Nick, Brad, Kyle. Gotta thank you, and obviously Ryan for kind of managing things right now. That's huge, and keeping things going.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge shout out there to Ryan Peterson keeping things going. At least still getting some of you guys to show up and show out as obviously it's quality over quantity right now on the racetrack, but it gives you guys a lot of extra room, a lot of extra ability to kind of maneuver around the speedway the way you want. And here tonight, obviously another small fuel, but another great race and another 145 laps of nonstop green flag racing.
Yep, it is. Got boring. We got spread out, but it was at the same time pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Always, always fun watching you guys out there on the racetrack. Chris, great run, great drive, man. Congrats again on the third place performance, and we can't wait to see you back in action again next Tuesday night from Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yep. Hopefully, I'm the first person to talk to you next weekend.
Absolutely. We look forward to it, mister.
All right, later, man.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, Mr. Chris Gilbert, as Gilbert comes home in that third spot on the Speedway. Great run, great drive, great performance there out of that 45 ride. Unfortunately, though, that is going to do it for us here this evening. The racing action has come to a close, and unfortunately, that's going to be the end of the night for us here in the broadcast booth, as Triton says that's the attitude. That is definitely the attitude to have, and I know for Chris Gilbert, he's going to be looking to try to get that one up on his teammates and try to park himself up and in to victory lane next week. But I mean, it's going to be tough sledding. I mean, Group's going to be getting a fire under him. We know Domingue and Snyder, Lane, all these guys, they are such tough and fierce competitors that it's just going to create some absolutely amazing racing action for all of us to enjoy next Tuesday night. As unfortunately, that will do it for us, though. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Peacemaker family here today, and we'll catch you guys back here in the next one, man. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and love.
Vision. Planning. Possibility. At Morphosis Machine, we turn ideas into engineered reality. Whether you're working with plastics, composites, ferrous or non-ferrous metals, our capabilities and vast partner network ensure no project is too big, too small, or too complex. From concept to completion, your success starts here. Discover how Morphosis can elevate your machining needs today.